Welcome to the TRU GOLF Academy. You've joined me, Jon Watts, today in my swing studio, and today's video is all going to be about pitching and varying your trajectory from high to low. Stay tuned to find out more. As mentioned, today's video is all going to be about pitching. I've set myself 40 yards away from a target here, away from a green on my simulator. And with the aid of my GC2 and HMT to measure the club head and the ball data, we're going to get a real good idea of whether I can vary the flight. So I'm going to be trying to hit a high one and a low one, but to the same distance with the same club without changing my setup position. So without moving ball position, I'm going to talk you through what I can try and feel in my swing to vary the flight and how that can help you. It's a great exercise, even if you go, well, do you know what, I'm always going to play a bog standard pitch and I'm going to just change the club. You know, fair enough. Yes, you could use a lower lofted club, make a shorter swing, land it shorter, etc. The downside, that's a great way of playing it, but the downside to just choosing a lower lofted club when you want to hit it lower is we're also going to be producing less spin. So spin is the difference between the angle of attack, so whether hitting down or up on the ball, and the dynamic loft on the golf club at impact. And the bigger the difference between them, the more spin we can create. So when we're lowering the loft of the club, we're lowering the spin rate. So that means the ball's going to release a little bit more. So it might be that we want to hit a low one, but still be able to stop the ball relatively quickly because the pin's at the front of the green and we've got overhanging tree branches there. If you know how to do this, it can really help sharpen up your game, whatever the situation. There's never going to be a shot that you can't face or you don't know how to face it, you don't know how to handle it. So it's a great way of practicing, even if you don't play it all the time this way. So I'm going to talk you through the difference that I feel when I'm hitting the higher one and the lower one, and a lot of it you're going to see with the finish position. So when I get this higher one, you're going to see the club finishing higher, and I've released this angle, okay? So I end up with more this 90-degree angle between my lead arm and club shaft. So I have released that angle and the club is finishing higher. The low one, it's almost going to be looking like the club head finishes more level with my hands, and I've still got some of that angle in my wrist. I haven't re-released this wrist cock here. I've actually maintained some. But I guess it's a feeling for me in what happens in the backswing and the downswing. So if I'm trying to hit the high one, on this particular shot, I still need some wrist cock on the way back. You know, it's a 40-yard shot, so I'm going to be making around a hip height swing with my 58-degree lob wedge here. So it's around a hip height swing, but I'm going to be trying to feel like I let the club catch up with my hands, almost like I'm casting the golf club. Okay, well, a lot of people are worried about this, but I'm going to feel like I let the club catch up with my hands. Now, if I didn't rotate my body as well, yes, that would mean I'm going to be hitting it heavy. But of course, I'm timing this with some body rotation, so my pressure is moving towards my lead leg. But I get that feeling that I'm letting the angle go in my wrist to use the full loft of the golf club and the bounce of the golf club. When I'm trying to hit the lower one, what I'm trying to get is very much, Mickelson often calls it the hinge and hold. So we're almost keeping that wrist cock, but I'm holding the angle longer. Now, I, of course, have to let it go at some stage. I cannot keep that angle the whole time. I would have to lower this trail shoulder and get a little bit more side bend in there. But I have to let the angle go a little bit, but it's the feeling of holding the angle longer in my lead arm and club shaft. So my wrists are cocking here and I'm holding that angle a little longer, and I almost feel, and I've just filmed a video on this about the trail elbow and the trail hip, the Harvey Penick magic move. I almost feel like my trail elbow and my trail hip work together a little bit more to help me create a little bit more shaft lean. By creating more shaft lean, I have lowered the loft on the golf club, and we're going to hit that ball at a lower trajectory. So the higher one, same backswing as the lower one, but the higher one, I feel like I lose that angle in my wrist a little sooner, whereas the lower one, I feel like I hold that angle a little longer like my trail elbow and trail hip are a little bit more connected. And that should give us 2 different flights and 2 different finish positions. So one where it looks more like this and one where it looks more like that. So higher the club finishes, the higher the ball flight should be. Let me see if I can do it, put myself under pressure. So I've got a 40-yard shot. I'm going to go for the higher one first of all. I'm going to keep the basics the same, so I'm keeping the ball position the same, quite central in my stance, underneath my sternum, my handle more level with the club. But I'm just going to try and get that feeling, although it's a hip height swing, of losing that angle in my wrist so I can recock on the way through. So that felt great. Go on. Oh, nearly pitched in, landed 42. So straight over the top of the flag. 54.5 degrees of dynamic loft. So this club starts with 58, so I only de-lofted that by 3.5 degrees, which is really good. Which is really, really good. And we'll look at the angle of attack in a minute, but nice high ball flight there. Really felt like I let that angle go, and you'll have seen on the way through that I had recocked the wrists here. So let me now rehearse that lower flighted one. I'm going to keep the basics the same, but I'm going to try and get that feeling. My trail elbow and trail hip work together. So it is wrist cock, but I feel like I hold that angle that little bit more to hit me that lower chasing 40-yard shot. Let me hit one of those. So clearly a lower trajectory. More release on landing, so it landed short of the flag and actually finished past the last one, so it rolled 6 yards. Let's just have a quick look through the data on those because it is interesting. Well, I think it's interesting anyway. So we, on the lower one, I didn't have to generate as much speed. So 5 miles an hour slower, club head speed, but we're hitting it in a lower trajectory. The launch angle difference was 1.5, 2 degree launch angle difference, and there was a difference on spin as well. So the lower one was a lower launch and a lower spin. But a big difference was the angle of attack. So on the higher one, I hit down on it by 3.5 degrees. On the lower one, I hit down on it by 7, so nearly double the amount. And the difference that made on dynamic loft was massive. So the loft on the club on my higher one was 54.5 degrees, and the loft on the lower one was 47 degrees. So I definitely changed the dynamic loft on the golf club, and I did that through changing impact. So that relationship almost with my wrists and club shaft. So whether I feel like I lose that angle or whether I maintain that angle and really try and connect this trail elbow to the trail hip. Learning to flight your wedges high and low, varying the trajectory, will help any part of your game. It's just control. Have a little bit of fun in your practice. It's a great way to experiment around the green. Can you vary the flight? Can you hit a low, a mid, a high? Can we vary the flight? It's a great way to practice and start to feel control of the loft of the golf club. If you did enjoy the content video, make sure you give us a thumbs up and do subscribe to the channel. It's the best way to stay in touch and show your support for the TRU GOLF Academy. Thanks guys, we'll see you soon.